Oh, there you go.
No, thanks. I might have done it a few years ago. I'm a bit past all that now.
Okay.
No, right, said Fred. You could be in that.
Definitely too sexy for this show. Guys, it's been the international break. Often people aren't massive fans of the international break because you want football back. Football is back this weekend. How has it been without Championship football for you guys?
I think for us, because there's so much happened within the club, all the talk on social media is just about new manager. I don't think anyone has spoken about anything else all week.
Jeff, you a fan of the international break?
This time, I just needed time to grieve over Neil Harris.
Really?
And I got that time.
So I don't think you've been on the show since this happened,
I haven't,
right?
no.
Okay, so, I mean, your thoughts on the situation?
Very, very sad. I said before on this station that I thought there was an element of the fans that were expecting the style of play to evolve a little bit quicker, and I can see where they're coming from. But I said he wouldn't have signed someone like Malumbi if his intention was to miss out the midfield. I think development of the style would have come. Wasn't coming quick enough for some, but for me, when you've got someone of the calibre of Neil as an individual and someone who feels for the club to the degree that he does, right, to treat him the way an element of our fans did, just reminded me of when Rhino and Macca got the boot at Brentford all those years ago. Two club heroes spat on by their own fans. Bang, out of order. And I think booing Neil and the team off at Luton was bang out of order. So but I'm over it now. We have to move on, and I have some trepidation over what they will do next.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have trepidation about that, do you? Stan?
Well, I must be a bit of an oddity. Well, I suppose I am in a way. But see, I don't have no problems with the international break. I look forward to it because I don't subscribe to. I don't get into this argument about club and country and all the rest of it. Because for me, if I had ever been a professional footballer, if I'd have been good enough, and if I'd have been good enough for England, and Millwall was going to buy me, and Jeff was the chairman of Millwall, I would insist upon that. There would have to be a clause in my contract that says anytime I'm called up for England, I'm there. I don't care what it was for. That's that. So I've got no problem with that, right? But now we get back to the old bread and butter, and as Pat said, it's now the sort of main two subjects in terms of Millwall has been like who's going to be the new manager, and also the continuing debate in relationships in Neil Harris. The only other big issue in football terms for me was with England the other night when we all know what took place with the Bulgarians. But no, I don't have no problems with the international break. I quite look forward to it.
Yeah.
And I actually think with the managers, in some respects, it gives them a bit of a break, doesn't it? Because they can, someone like, for example, the guy that we've now got, Barrett. He's now going to be working with players, isn't he? A lot better than he would have been. He's had a break. He ain't got a game. He ain't had the game come up. Or it's coming tomorrow. So. No, I think I don't knock it.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to move on to another major story, of course, that has occurred over the past week or 10 days or so, and that is the reaction to the compulsory purchase order being removed from land occupied by Millwall Football Club. Lewisham Council withdrew a CPO that it originally issued in 2013. Millwall issued a statement on Friday both welcoming the withdrawal and also the variations given to the land lease by the club. Probably one of the most influential reporters on the matter was the Guardian's lead sport writer, Barney Ronay, who we welcome tonight. Barney, thank you for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's been a long journey, hasn't it? You've covered developments right from the off. How did you initially view what was taking place when all this started?
Well, I mean, obviously I wasn't the first person to take notice of this. So I followed it in the local press, in the South London press. And with all these stories, there's always a surrounding noise of people complaining about various things and saying, oh, this is all a stitch up, this is a bit of a conspiracy theories and things like that. But some of the stuff that started to emerge about it, somehow it struck me slightly worse than that. There was certain things kept coming up, particularly the link to members of Lewisham Council having owned the land that was being compulsory purchased and sold on. And that just kept coming up. I kept hearing whispers of it on various sort of chat boards and things like that. somebody, one whistleblower type person got in touch with me, and I thought, this can't be true, can it? So I had a bit of a dig, and it turned out there was a sort of trail linking those things, and it all went from there, really.
Interesting. Jeff, I'm sure that you've got some opinions on this.
Good evening, Barney. I was on the board when all this started. I think we're talking about 2002-03. That's when Renewal first started to buy land. And all I can say is people like you and others that stopped this from happening, I'll be eternally grateful. Eternally grateful.
I wasn't sure which way you were going to go there.
People like you, Barney.
You've ruined all the plans that we had.
I really thought this was a goner. And I think the campaign helped very much by yourself and others. I think it brought us back from the brink because, do you know what? If it hadn't been for the fact there was less than salubrious behaviour around this, we would have lost. If they had actually played the game honestly and straightforwardly, we couldn't have fought it.
Yeah,
so
that's absolutely right. I mean,
so I'm glad, and I thank you, Barney. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
What was interesting about it is it shines the way it was handled was so shabby. There were so many corners cut, so many strange links to. There was the strange charitable trust, which the mayor himself, which stood to benefit from the council's actions, which the mayor himself was actually a trustee of, and they took so many shortcuts and were so arrogant about it. And it kind of shines a light on, sadly, I think, the way so much local government is conducted and the way people in power conduct themselves. There's so little scrutiny, partly because local papers have had the rug pulled out from under them, that people really do get away with behaving in the shoddiest ways. Thankfully, we were able to actually shine a light on that. And like you say, if they played it straight, they probably would have got away with it.
Barney, Stan here. I mean, the thing that... I mean, again, thank you for all the work that you did, and you led the crusade, and we'll be forever in your debt, mate. Being no doubt about that. But I mean, but the thing was that struck a lot of people, and me and me in particular, is that we seem to have this bizarre way of having a Labour council, right, actually in bed with some offshore owner.
Yeah.
I mean, if there'd have been Tories, there'd have been an absolute outcry. Then apparently, when people were making freedom of information requests, I mean, as I understand it, Lewisham Council was employing lawyers at big money to shoot every avenue to block it off so nobody could find out anything at all. I mean, it was extraordinary. I mean,
when you hear the words Labour Council, you think of some well-meaning Jeremy Corbyn types in tweed jackets concerned with the social welfare of the world. But I think we're talking really about a bunch of wide boys, to be honest.
I mean, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some funny old people who've been in and out of Lewisham Town Hall down the years. And to be fair, the current mayor, Damien Egan, he's cut from a different kind of cloth. And basically, he's just got everybody to sit down, get in a room and say, do you really need this piece of land? Is it really impossible? You know, what you had was a lot of egos that set their store and saying, we're going to kick Millwall off that land. We're going to take it. They're not happy with the fact they got it in the first place. Whereas the new mayor was able to say, well, do you really need to do that? And miraculously, they didn't. And the scheme has come forward now that both sides can redevelop their land, and which will hopefully help the club. So the club now faces a different kind of challenge. In a way, its bluff has been called. Well, I'm sure they'll be very happy about it. But now Millwall has to become a property developer, which is something new for them. And hopefully do in a way that everybody's happy with, that suits the fans, suits the club, and we still have a recognisable den and a recognisable place that the fans want to go to, which I'm sure we will, and which works financially for the club too.
Barney, one of the things that made life difficult was Lewisham decided to have an executive mayor at a time when I think every seat except one, I could be wrong, I don't live in Lewisham, you know, there was no political opposition in the council. What always happens then is they start fighting amongst themselves. That's, you know, but let me take Lewisham's part for a moment, try and explain to people what part of this was. Lewisham were upset because the mayor called in a big scheme in Deptford because they were dragging their feet getting planning permission for it. And they were threatened with it being called in by Boris. And they didn't want that. So they were desperately trying to get some scheme going. And Renewal's point of view was, we cannot afford to deliver that new station unless we have Millwall's land. And Lewisham bought that argument. It was a fake argument, in my opinion. Allegedly. And I'm just very grateful that we have now got to where we are. And it's a shame that the two parties both have to develop their land individually. A combined scheme would have made sense, but unfortunately relations were poisoned in the year 2004, 5, 6. It's a long story. It might be in my memoirs. And
for another
wait
day.
to see these memoirs.
If everybody I'm libelling is dead, I can risk printing it, can't I? But look, we are where we are now. That railway station is needed. There's going to be a lot of new dwellings. We need infrastructure to deal with that. That's a brilliant way to get to the Den, that station. It's absolutely necessary. I'm afraid we have to accept that, like Tottenham, like Arsenal, like certain other London clubs, we will not be driving to the game, many of us. We will not be.
No.
So I'm afraid we need that infrastructure, and that station will be a boon. And that's a big part of this, I think.
I mean, I remember you remember the name. I don't know if you remember the actual person concerned, but I remember Barney, this Peter de Savary, and when he first took over at Millwall, because fun enough, on his first meeting at the forum he went to, was the first forum I ever went to, and on the Saturday there was 4 or 5 lines in a daily paper saying he was going to sell the ground or something. And because we all rock up at this forum, and because straight away he gets confronted with this. And he said, well, no. He said, I can't. He said, no, I've got no intention of doing that. So we don't actually own the deeds to the place anyway. He said, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't. He said, because they're owned by Lewisham, he said. But I never forget, you see, what he said was, and it made perfect sense to me, because he said when he was asked to come in and look at Millwall, he looks at the finances and one thing and another, and he said, this club only has one income stream, he said, and that's in terms of football. And he quoted places like Sheffield United, and then it was West Ham when they was at the bowling, because they turned part of their ground into the executive boxes, which was a hotel by night. He said, which then gave them an income stream other than football. He said, and Millwall, he said, don't have that. He said, and that's what you need. Hence this idea, which when I'm sitting here listening, it made perfect sense to me. But because mind you, I never thought for a minute it was going to end up the way it did. But there we are.
Well, I did discuss the regeneration project with him virtually on his first day. He came into the chair after a 4 or 5 month period where the football club and the public company unbelievably operated without a chairman. I do not know any other example in history where a quoted stock exchange company operated for 5 months without a chairman. That's also in the memoirs, which are never going to get written, by the way. But what Peter decided to do was to compete with Renewal for land surrounding the Den. And that was a mistake. And I think he'd gone after 8 months, hadn't he? Something like that.
Yeah.
But he did. I tell you what he did. He brought in the fan on the board. That's something I discussed with him. He asked me what I thought we should do. I told him what I thought we should do about the regeneration. We should collaborate, not go into competition. I said, get a fan on the board. That will be brilliant. And, 1 out of 2 he listened to. So, good.
Indeed. Barney, it's been great having you on the show, mate. Just a final word before you go on this whole situation?
Well, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's the challenge now for the club is to make all this work in a way that makes it still feel like Millwall, which is what everyone obviously wants. I mean, that's now. I mean, you can have all sorts of plans and schemes, but this has got to still feel like the Den and feel like a place that Millwall fans will come and I feel like it's their home. I'm sure they will do that, but that's a big part of it for me.
Indeed it is. Barney Ronay, thank you very much for joining us.
Well said, Barney.
Thank you, Barney.
Yeah, cheers, Barney.
That was Barney Ronay, Guardian's lead sport writer, who's been influential in that CPO, everything around it. This is the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears?
We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Stop paying too much for your energy bills. Brian saved money on his at aspokesmansaid.com. Can you?
I'm Brian from Swaddling-Cote, South Derbyshire, and I saved about £400 on my energy bill with a Spokesman Said. The iSpokesman Said website was very easy to use, and the money I saved I put towards a holiday.
Compare home energy quotes from the UK's biggest suppliers in just a matter of minutes with aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
This is Love Sport.
This is the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport. Me, Matt Beadle, here with the guys from Nolu talking. Stan Godwin, Jeff Burnage, and marvellous Maslin Patricia. There we go. That's what I'm going to go for. Guys, just to follow up on that chat with Barney, I mean, it's just great news, isn't it? And Jeff, I know that it's been really big for you, all of this, as it has been for all Millwall fans.
It was an existential threat, Matt. I'm not sure I'd have gone to Dartford. I think I might have been like the Wimbledon fans that didn't want to go to Milton Keynes. But you never know. The pull's there, isn't it? But what I understand to be the case is that we are now going to develop what we can develop, which is basically car park and community scheme, in such a way that would make that ground eligible to play in the Premier League. And I quite applaud that mindset the club has now got. I think we've got to say, good on you.
Yeah, absolutely. He did also mention the managerial situation as well. That is a big thing at the moment. We discussed it at the top of the show. John Berylson is in the house, by the way, people. He's obviously flown over to sort this out. Where do we stand at the moment in terms of Adam Barrett's obviously there, that Shane Ferguson, a glowing endorsement for him. And many of the players that are currently at the club are liking his methods.
It's funny you say that because I thought of Pat earlier because I was listening to a radio programme and Steve Morrison was on there because he's going to become a coach. He
has retired this week as well. Yeah.
And I thought of Pat because I know that's a pin-up boy. But anyway, that's another story.
I thought I was your pin-up boy.
It is another story. It's an X-rated other story, Stan.
But he was saying on there because the question come up about a Millwall and Neil Harris, and he did make the point, Steve. He said he's obviously in contact with the players there. He said, and they're all raving about old Barrett down there. Yeah, right. Now, I would expect him to say that anyway. I mean, because if they was all slagging him off, he's not going to turn around and say that, is he? But, I mean, it's a bizarre situation because when all this first started, the names he was in was Chris Hughton, then I heard Aitor Karanka, then I've heard Gary Rowett, people like Roy Keane.
Gareth Ainsworth, another one that's come in.
Yeah, and Gary,
he's
now,
quite a high one.
That's right. Now there was if you go by what you read on the social media, there was quite a lot of people wasn't too keen on Gareth Ainsworth. Now from what I've read, you get the impression he's now not coming or applying because they got new owners at Wickham or something, and they want him and
there's all sorts of stuff going on at Wickham in terms of the ownership.
So at the moment, unless anybody knows any different, as far as I can see, it's between Gary Rowett and Barrett.
I think we're riding on the Leeds win with Barrett. Everyone's like going over the top, how brilliant he is. I'm not saying he's not, and I'm not saying that we wouldn't make a good manager, but I think we're in a honeymoon period, and if we win tomorrow, there'll be more calling for him to be manager. I think we've got to be careful there because he's not got the experience and that. Probably make a great number 2, but I think we need someone more experienced as manager.
I remember reading on social media after Neil had gone that people would be queuing up to be the Millwall manager. Not far off halfway in the Championship. People would be queuing up. What we're left with is someone that's never managed at our level, someone that has had 3 clubs in 2 years, and someone that was the first team coach. It hardly tells me that there was a queue round the block from really good managers. Millwall's a tough job. We were lucky to have Neil and Livers. Following them is going to be difficult. I know what I would like. Given that is the pool, I think Gary Rowett probably would make a good appointment. I think he probably would. But given that we haven't got obvious candidates that are really going to excite people, what's the rush? I'd go with Adam Barrett all day long, because you never know. I think it could well be that he'd be a success. If he's not, we may have a different pool of candidates a month, 2, 3, 6 months down the line. So my support at this moment is for Adam Barrett.
Okay, Jeff Burnage says Adam Barrett. What does Tony Russell say? The Millwall fan and Facebook match reporter, well known, of course, for his humorous and comprehensive articles that he publishes after each
Hilarious is the word, isn't it?
You read that one, Will, mate, didn't you?
Tony, how you doing, boss? So
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Adam Barrett is the favourite of Jeff Burnage in the studio here. For you, new Millwall manager, what are you thinking? What are you hoping?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? To put me on the spot. I thought I was supposed to talk about my reports.
we'll get onto that.
Do what you're told, Tony.
I really don't know because we haven't got a great pool to pick from at the moment, have we?
Exactly.
I would be tempted to agree with Jeff and let the baldy man have a pop for a little while and then wait and see what comes up.
Baldy man. You don't mean Stan Godwin, do you? For crying out loud.
It'll be the first time in our history that Stan is better looking than the manager.
I'll tell you what, though, opinion is very, very well divided on this one. Even at a game like the Leeds game where the lads did exceptionally well, there was still people moaning and groaning and just not happy. So perhaps you just can't support, you can't make everybody happy all the time.
No, my support for Adam Barrett has nothing to do with the Leeds result. Let's face it. We were lucky.
That's right.
We were lucky. Right. The luck went with us that day. We deserved it. We
disagree
earned
with
it.
that, Pat, do you?
I do completely disagree with that.
Come
I
on.
don't know.
I mean, we gave the stats out last week. They had one shot on target all game. Come on.
A red card and a penalty early in the game. We don't normally get that penalty. Millwall don't normally get that one.
I would disagree with you there, Jeff.
Nevertheless, great performance. Crowd were great. It was good to get over what had happened the 2 days before. And but you said, Tony, there that we don't have a great pool at the moment. That's a good reason, I think, to stick with what we've got. See how that works out.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to give that a go.
Well, Tony, we're going to get on to the important matter at hand, of course, and that is you and the work that you do at Millwall. So let's go back to the start. When did all this start? When did you first take up the publishing of those reports?
Well, it was actually a few years ago. Oh, forgive my voice, by the way. I think my voice is going. You'll be happy to hear. A few years ago, after one away game, I got home and there was a few, should we say, reports which happened to be one-word expletives about how the lads played. And, and then someone put on there, can somebody please tell me what actually happened? And I'd like to say that alcohol wasn't involved, but after a couple of Nelson Mandelas, I thought, I'll give it a go. And so I just jotted down a few words and promptly forgot about it. And the next day, there was quite a few people that said, oh, thanks, we can't get to the games anymore. You know, that's good of you. So I thought, well, that's okay. Promptly forgot about it. Then, of course, the following week, I didn't put one on. And then got a few messages, what's the matter with you, you middle-old S? Why aren't you doing the reports anymore? And it just sort of grew on from that, really.
Mate, that's awesome. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I quite enjoy it, really, but I'm not really quite sure they're match reports. They're more observations of the day.
Better. To be fair, nowadays, in terms of reading match reports, it's very few and far between. You actually notice now with a lot of the major outlets as well, they tend not to do straight match reports. It's always an alternative look, I suppose. Even the official ones now just maybe pick a few of the best bits, and that's pretty much it. So I think the old school reporting of match reports pretty much from minute 1 to minute 90 has kind of been lost. So this is where you come in, I suppose. And in terms of the language you use, I mean, you just used the words Nelson Mandela's there. Do you employ any of that in your reporting?
Once or twice.
Pat's nodding her head.
Yes. When do you get time to write these, Tony? Because they usually appear about 9 p.m. on the day of the game. Do you?
That's the home games, yes, Patricia. For the away games, what I normally do is to try and make a mental note, because I don't take notes because you miss the game doing that, of course. Mental note of some key incidents, and then, you know, what's happening with the travelling faithful, how loud they are, how quiet the home support are, which is probably why they've got a drum, and all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as I get back home, I'm on my little jotter for about 20 minutes, writing down what's in my brain, and then the rest just sort of follows on from that.
Lovely.
But of course,
sorry, go on.
I was going to say it's easier at the home games because when we do score, they show the replay on the screen.
Yeah, I've only had to correct you once on one of your reports. It was about Morrow, wasn't it? You got it completely wrong. So, yeah. No, they are brilliant, I must say.
Well, thank you for that. But no, I mean, I don't always get it. Well, no, of course I don't always get it right. I mean, a little while ago, I was talking to one of the lads standing next to me saying, that Conor Mahoney, we should play him at the back more often. It was actually McCarthy who was there. I'm sure that people will forgive me the odd one of those here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, what you're saying, because, you know, you could, I mean, like tomorrow, I mean, I'm going Brentford tomorrow, and I mean, you could have 10 people in that ground and speak to them afterwards and say, well, give us your view of the game, and you'll have 10 different points of view.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I listened to what Jeff was saying about the Leeds game.
Exactly,
I mean,
he was wrong.
And
so.
he's, you know, I mean, my view was we played. If I watched that game against Leeds, and the only question I want to know is, I thought we were brilliant that day. Now I want to see us play like that every week.
Absolutely,
it was a pleasure not to sit there and keep watching the ball lump down the middle of the park. I mean, that's what done me with Harris, I tell you.
I think we played well. I was very happy with the performance. One of the reasons we didn't lump it down the middle of the park stand was we couldn't get hold of the ruddy ball. That was half the problem for about 20 minutes in the second half. No, we definitely deserved that result, and it is true to say that Leeds scored with their only effort on goal in the whole game. So when they gone on their social media saying how unlucky they were, that's the one you want to throw back in their face, isn't it? No, I don't think, but put it this way, a key incident absolutely went our way on that day, but we deserved it because we've had plenty of key incidents go against us.
Oh, no, absolutely right.
Absolutely. Tony, it's been great having you on, mate. Just before you go, how far are you hoping to get with this? Are you going to be stepping into my shoes and, you know, taking over the Millwall podcast show or what?
This is just the ramblings of an old Millwall supporter for other Millwall supporters. It's just a bit of fun.
Not with language like that, eh, Tony?
Plenty more rhyming slang, Tony. I do love a bit of Cockney rhyming slang, you know. I usually call them Britneys rather than Nelsons, but you're entitled to your own one, and your stuff is brilliant, very funny.
Well, for the older ones, it's Keithy Wellers.
True. True.
What a name! What a name that is. I mean,
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. We should just do an hour on Cockney rhyming slang with Tony Russell. Tony, thank you very much for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for asking me.
Bye, Tom.
That was Tony Russell, Millwall fan, Facebook match reporter, and Cockney rhyming slang aficionado. This is the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport. Plenty more coming up.
This is Love Sport. Join Love Sport Weekend Breakfast this Saturday morning from 8 for a chock-a-block show with Ewan Thomas and Paul Mortimer. They'll have sweet-as updates and analysis of England's quarter-final clash with Australia at the Rugby World Cup. Will the Wallabies wallop ya, or will Vunipola leave the odds dead as dingoes? Love Sport Weekend Breakfast this Saturday from 8 until the Arvo. It's going to be ripper. Good on ya, mate. Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Can you save money on your car insurance? Chris did with a little help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings.
I'm Chris from Leicestershire, a truck driver. I went on a spokesman's set, which was very straightforward and easy to use for an old git like myself, and saved over £300 on my car insurance.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
This is the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport. Myself, Matt Beadle, here with the guys from Nolly Talking, Stan Godwin, Jeff Burnage and Patricia Maslin. We've just had a great conversation following on, of course, from that chat with Tony Russell about Cockney rhyming slang and how it lives on. And, of course, it's been updated for the modern era. Do you know what my favourite is? Or one of my favourites? We're having a good Frank on this show. A Frank and Pat.
Oh. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Let's go outside for a quick Frank and Pat. We need to talk. Love it. Love Cockney rhyming slang. It must live on. It's brilliant.
You have to be watching EastEnders to get that.
Exactly. Yeah, you do.
And watching EastEnders 20 years ago, Matt, can I point
Absolutely.
out? So if you think that's an up-to-date one, got bad news for you.
I'll tell you what, you talk about EastEnders. I've got a cousin of mine, and he's got a thing about EastEnders, and he comes from there. And he says if you live in Barking and you was always brought up in Barking, right? This is as an example. He would say, yeah, you come from the East End, but you're not an East Ender because the East End is the original East End, which goes from Wapping to Bow Creek and up the River Lee. That is the original East End. Everything on the other side of that is not classified as an East Ender.
And that's your history lesson for tonight.
There you go. History with Stan Godwin. I like that, Stan. Oh, so many strings to your bow, mate.
Well, there we are.
Well, we've got Harry Martin on the line now. It's time for Fan in the Dugout. Welcome, Harry. How are you?
How you doing, Matt? You okay?
Yeah, very good, buddy. Very, very good indeed. Great to have you on the line. I guess we'll start with the points return thus far. Are you happy with the season so far, Harry?
I think that obviously with what Nice has brought to the team assistant manager, I think a few of the fans got a bit themselves after our first.
Oh, we've lost Harry there. The connection isn't the greatest, guys. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to move on to one of my favourite parts of the show. One of Patricia Maslin's favourite parts of the show, which is Legend or Hero.
Oh.
And that legend or hero being the recently departed Neil Harris. Pat, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, this is a bit raw. I might start crying. Yeah, I think it's too soon to really talk about him. There's no...
Still raw, isn't it?
It is still raw. Yeah, I mean, there's no question that he's, to me, the greatest Millwall legend of all time. I think even for me, he's surpassing Kitchener now. And, yeah, what can you say? He came to us in 1998. He's 18 years association with the club. I mean, what the man's, just Mr. Millwall for me now. Jeff?
Oh, everyone knows how I feel about him. But I'm not sure about Kitch coming second to him, Kitch, that's one of my real all-time heroes. It's just a shame that nobody under 40 can remember seeing him play. But it's a shame we lost Harry. You'd have to get him back on the dog and bone, won't you, as soon as you possibly can.
Oh, there it is. We're going to get him on actually in a couple of minutes. So
I just thought I'd throw another rhyming slang in
there. I
there.
like it, Jeff. I like this continuation. We should make it a theme of the show moving forward. We should chuck it in every show.
I will. I promise you I will.
Stan Neil Harris, obviously 138 goals, the club's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of his playing record, I mean, there's no debate. I mean, the man is a legend. I mean, he's the all-time record goal scorer for Millwall. And if anybody even suggested, all right, yeah, good record, but he can't be a legend. I mean, how does that dynamic work? I just can't get my head around that. But this is the problem sometimes when you get. I mean, this is what I said once before. A few years ago, people wanted Kitchener to become the manager. And he never got the job. And in a way, I'm glad because, everyone talks about Kitchener today in glowing terms. He was this, and every word of it's true, okay? But had he to become a manager and it'd have all gone pear-shaped, we'd be talking about Kitch in them terms.
But
right?
Harris, that didn't go pear-shaped with it. He was probably our best manager ever.
Well,
for all this, he's getting back management.
No, I mean, I wouldn't subscribe to the view that he's our best manager ever. But
stats would argue with you on that.
But one of the things about him, and this is going to be interesting, because I remember listening to Phil Brown once, and he was on the television and he was talking about Millwall, and he said that out of all the players he'd ever spoken to, had ever played at Millwall, he said every single one of them. He said that to play at Millwall, you had to have a certain mentality. And what he said is that Neil Harris, he could have a list of players. They could be outstanding players, but if they've not got the mentality, and he didn't think they had the mentality, they wouldn't last at Millwall. And
I think
that's where that is.
To be a legend, I need that player to have formed a love for Millwall, so that wherever they go afterwards, later in life, they've still got a bit of Millwall going through their blood. That's certainly true of Kitch, who came from the what Stan says is not the East End, from Dagenham. It's certainly true for Harry Cripps, who started his career in the same youth team as Bobby Moore at that other team that Stan mentioned by name, and I won't. But both of those had an abiding love for the club, and so did Neil. So for me, legend.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with any
I mean,
of that.
his life is the club. I mean, he come at 21-year-old. He didn't even know where the Den was. He admits that when he first signed, and I think had he not got cancer, he would have been. I think Scotland were interested in him playing international level. I think he would have done that had he not got the cancer. And we've lived through that with him. He's come out the other side, and the man's life is Millwall, and I just don't like the way it's ended. And I actually don't think it's going to end. I think Harris is going to come back at some point.
Do you?
Yeah. Maybe not at management level, but I think he will be part of the club again. He's gone and come before, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of
times. He went to Forest, he went to Southend, he played for loaned to Cardiff, and he's always come back. And I think there will be a return eventually.
I so much agree with my colleagues here. It's unusual to be agreeing with Stan. We like to try and organise a row if we possibly can. But, you know, what is sad is that there is an element in every crowd, and certainly in Millwall's crowd, sometimes the bar gets raised and expectations get too high and feelings get the better of people. We're at Brentford tomorrow. That's where some of our fans behave disgracefully towards Keith Stevens and Alan McCleary. Two great Millwall players got treated abysmally at Brentford. What was the year, Pat? You can probably come up with it.
2001?
Yeah.
I think it was 2001, but I was a very young man then, Stan.
Very true, Jeff.
But I hope that Neil, in choosing his own departure, which I think he's done, you know, what a man.
Indeed.
So legend for me.
I'm not even going to go through the panel. I would imagine it is legend for all three of you. And before we move on, Pat, I just want you've got a top on tonight with an image of Neil Harris. Can you just explain what this is?
That was his first goal he scored after recovering from cancer. That was at Watford away. It didn't make any difference to the scoreline. I think it was 4-1 we won. He got that. He came on as sub towards the end. He scored this brilliant goal. Every single Millwall player ran the length of the pitch to lift him up, even the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And the ref didn't even stop it because I think they all knew what it meant at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, Watford fans were great.
Yeah.
They got to their feet as well. Everybody knew what that meant.
Yeah, I think you recognise that, don't you? Absolutely. Neil Harris, a Millwall legend without a doubt.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio. Premier League, Championship, and fan shows. 7 days a week. We've got your team covered. Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
This is Love Sport. The opposition view on Love Sport.
This is the Millwall fan show on Love Sport, and it is time for the opposition view. Of course, Millwall travel to Griffin Park for the final ever time this weekend. Not the best of luck in London in recent years. Millwall, I must say, in derbies, winless in the last 10 away League London derbies, drawn 5 and lost 5. Brentford, of course, this weekend, and Brentford, of course, in blue this weekend. Millwall changing their strip because of Brentford's special kit in their final season at Griffin Park. Mark Burridge, Brentford's matchday commentator, is now on the line. Mark, going to be weird commentating with Brentford in blue at home?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, it certainly will be when you want the Blues to do well when you're playing Millwall. It just doesn't seem right. But Yeah, we have done this in the past, so it's not something totally new. But with a lot going on this season, looking forward to moving to the new ground and celebrating this kit back to 1904. It was actually our first ever win at Griffin Park against Millwall Athletic. Back in 1904.
There we go. Crikey. Mark.
No, I wasn't there.
Couldn't get a ticket.
Mark, I have to say that we do a Brentford Fans show on this very station as well, and it has been very up and down this season. Some weeks the guys come in and they're buzzing. Some weeks they come in and they go, I'll tell you what, we're not sure how it's going to go. What's been your take on the season so far?
I think the guys have probably got it nailed on. There was a lot of excitement at the start of the season because we were the biggest spenders in the league. Obviously, we'd taken in a lot of money, a lot of revenue. Chris Metham last season was obviously a big sale, and Neil Mortimer this season as well, who we have missed undoubtedly, although Ollie's doing well up front in a role that he's not really used to. I think it's a lack of creativity and a lack of consistency. We're not really scoring, and we're not really conceding that many. It's a strange old season. We've only conceded 9 this season, but we were on our lowest record of scoring, only 9 in 11 games. That's our lowest since 2010-11.
Oh, well, we'll hope that continues tomorrow then.
Well, I think we scored 3 in 2 of those games against Derby and Barnsley, and we looked very good in both of those and could have scored a hatful in both as well. But we can't find consistency. Went to Nottingham Forest 2 weeks ago. Probably slightly the better team going into the break. Came out second half, didn't offer anything. And they got a goal not long after half time, but there was no real response. I think they'll be top 6, Nottingham Forest. They're a solid side, but it's stop-start for Brentford. And of course, the international breaks, when you're not getting any momentum, they don't help you.
Absolutely. Jeff?
Well, it's quite near where I live. I've been to Griffin Park many a time. I will miss it, but I would love us to play our last game at Griffin Park and come back with the 3 points. I have a feeling we might. More than that, I don't think I want to say anything.
Who's the player we should be looking out for tomorrow on Brentford side, obviously?
For Brentford side, Ben Rama. He's a very, very gifted player. Terrific footballer on his day. He is definitely Premier League quality. Christian Norgard's been playing well in the holding midfield role in the last few games. He's come on a little, quite a lot this season. Ollie Watkins playing down the centre. Of course, he has been scoring, although it's not his natural position. But a lot of changes in the summer for Brentford, so they're just trying to gel as a unit. We're pretty solid at the back. But the one for me to watch tomorrow and expecting big things of will be Said Ben Rama if he's playing.
Yeah, very tricky customer, isn't he? It's interesting what you say as well in terms of the goals that have been scored this season and goals conceded. It's a really bizarre season for Brentford, I think, this season. And we know that Ollie Watkins, for a period, was top of the goal scorer charts, not really a recognised striker. You know, he came out earlier in the season and kind of said to the fans, look, be patient with me. It's going to take a bit of time. And then you look at the likes of Sergi Canos and Ben Rama. Both of those, interestingly, have had the most shots in the Championship this season without actually scoring.
Yeah, that's right. We're limited. I mean, Josh De Silva scored an absolute cracker against Bristol City. We've got Brian Mbeumo with 1, and then we've got Ollie Watkins with the remainder of our paltry returns. So we're restricting the goals to just a select few number of players, whereas in the past we've been scoring all over the pitch. So, and Ollie, of course, is not playing in his favoured left side position, cutting in from the left side. So we're actually missing possibly a talent out on that side, and haven't got a natural goal scorer, as we would call it, even though he was, topping the charts before Mitrovic just took it over. So he's doing well, Ollie, but it's just not all quite working. Another one I think could be worth watching if he plays tomorrow is the youngster Brian Mbeumo, who we're expecting big things on. Sergi Canos, who you mentioned, is sadly out for what looks like the season.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you because something's occurred to me. I mean, you're saying and Matt saying that the Brentford fans, when they come up and they're talking about indifferent form at home, right?
Yeah.
Now, just how does the home form compare to the away form?
Well, last season our away form was shocking. We only really won 2 times on the road. We were gifted a victory because of the Bolton fiasco at the end of the season. But we were appalled. We have won at Middlesbrough and we've won at Barnsley this season. And we've been indifferent at home.
Yeah.
We've been indifferent. So
the reason I asked you the question is I mean, I don't know what your take on this is, but I mean, I remember, that last season we was at the Old Den, we were going for the playoffs, and all of a sudden the form faded and we didn't make them. Now, there was a point of view at that time, but perhaps the reason we didn't quite do it was because, people got it in their head that this was going to be the last season at the Old Den we were going to move, right? Is it conceivable, and I'm not saying I agree with it, that was the view, is it conceivable that perhaps that might be the answer to your indifferent form because it's getting to the players they know that this is their last season now?
I think it's a very good, very, very good point you make, and I think that it might be that way for the fans. I'm not quite so sure the players, because we've got so many new players, and you know what it's like in football these days. They don't always stay at clubs for too long, so I'm not so sure they get used to the emotional attachment. But I think off the pitch around the club there's been a lot of excitement. There's a lot of romance attached. Like our last year at Griffin Park, what a great time this would be to get promotion, which still might happen, of course, and get into the new stadium in the Premier League. And I think there was a lot of belief that would happen at the start of the season. Now people possibly need a little bit more convincing. They're just desperate for the team to start a bit of a run. And we obviously will be hoping, guys, that we start that tomorrow against Millwall, where we've won the last 2 seasons, both games to 0. And they'll be looking for that again.
All good things have to come to an end.
Mark, it's been great having you on, buddy. Just a quick score prediction before you go.
I'm going 2-0 Brentford. Sorry, guys.
2-0 Brentford. Lovely stuff. Mark Burridge, the matchday commentator at Brentford FC. That was. He's going 2-0. Now, guys, before I get your predictions, we must just do a very quick bit of admin. Firstly, I forgot, Neil Harris, Legend of the Week, was nominated by John Watt from Herefordshire. Millwall Lionesses as well were involved in an 8-goal thriller against Cambridge City Ladies at Rotherhithe in a League Cup tie, which ended 4-4 on Sunday as Cambridge equalised in the final minute. A replay is to follow. Jeff, can you update us on what has happened?
It's not a replay.
No,
it's a group. It's a group of 4. That League Cup. So
there is no replay.
No replay. One more game in that group to play. They're at home again on Sunday. This time against Watford. That is in the County Cup. Every single bit of support they can get in terms. It's free to get in. Just come and watch a Millwall team. Really giving everything they've got.
Lovely.
And I'll be there. So hopefully some others will be. The crowds have been good and they've been better than the other team which broke away. So that's one of the reasons I want to see people turn up to St Paul's in Rotherhithe.
Lovely stuff. And Patricia, George's away day travel tips. Obviously, it's Brentford this weekend.
Absolutely, and we haven't heard of any restrictions on any pubs in Brentford, which is unbelievable. However, the Six Bells pub in 148 High Street, Brentford, is run by a South East London landlord, and he's welcoming all Millwall. It's a 15-minute walk to the ground, and there'll be no alcohol sold in the ground.
Lovely stuff. All 4 pubs on all corners of the ground, of course. A great place to go to, Griffin Park. Guys, we're at the end of the show, sadly. Just a quick score prediction from you each. Stan?
Millwall to win by the odd goal.
I agree with Stan.
I'll go 2-0 to Millwall.
Lovely stuff. This has been the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport. We will see you at 9 p.m. next Friday.
This is Love Sport.
You're in